hey, it's still on the left side of the standings, I would say, for Stefan. It is a tough challenge. It is a tough challenge.
There's a lot of thought that goes into it, which I was looking at like, huh, yeah, you're not using combat runes. It is about immediate like gratification on like the power you get. You can't, even stuff like the absolute focus only gives you like the 1 AD. It's really weird to theorycraft that.
Any take on that?
I mean, I think like you didn't see it here, but Nimbus close in secondaries, and then you have fleet footwork, and then you could probably just go for celerity as well. So
yeah,
at least some extra movement
maximum movement speed.
Yeah,
and that is also a line, or at least a role that I would like to talk about for this matchup. We don't have a lot of time. It's going to be Singularity versus Riddle junglers. I think Scrudy is a really good jungler. He's showcased. There's a lot of questions still for Singularity versus Riddle, one of the best teams in the league so far.
Yeah, and you know, Stefan has been one of our defining players of the split so far. There often are a couple when you come into any kind of league. Stefan has been individually a very strong performer in a team of individually strong performers. That's how I tend to categorize Riddle. On the other side, though, you're looking at this new guy coming in, Scrudy, Singularity, revamping the entire roster after their development project has kind of fallen through at this point. And Scrudy did play the Kha'Zix, started to try to play some comfort. It didn't come out to a win, but in an individual level, Scrudy looked pretty good.
Guys, imagine I'm your average NLC viewer, okay?
Hello.
I've only watched like the first 3 or 4
He's never been here before, you know.
Okay, right. So what am I expecting of new Singularity here coming into this game?
I think, okay,
yeah.
so from what we saw last game, we only have this one for it. It does seem to be a lot of individual power and a lot of comfort. Again, we saw that, we saw the Twitch coming out of Spikey. That was the one thing which really stood out to me last time. I think Spikey has actually been coming along quite well as a player, but particularly from that jungle role, the Kha'Zix didn't fit the team comp. It was basically just saying, I'm going to get the leads myself, and then we'll just smooth over the cracks with good play, even though it doesn't fit the rest of the comp. We haven't got really enough data on them outside of that to really say, do they have any identity outside of that? We're really waiting to see what they bring to the table next.
Okay, new viewer, can you press the button so we can start the champion select? There you go. That's the way we treat the button. Eventually, we will break it. It's going to be Singularity versus Riddle. Singularity still looking for their first win. Riddle trying to get the 9th one, which allows them to go almost into first place alongside with GDXL.
That is going to be one heck of a conversation to have if that does happen, because of course JXL, are they up against Vanillator?
They are versus Veneer, yeah.
Remember, it's just strict wires crossed in terms of the scheduling, but there we go, just about got that one, just about scraped through. But Riddle are seriously starting to become that powerhouse in the NLC. Remember that one of their losses, actually one of their losses was with that weakened roster in the first week when they had to do all that role swap. So actually, in some ways, you could say that even with that loss to Bifrost, they took it very close. You could almost say this is pretty much a 9-1 team, similar to JDXL in terms of the results from that first round robin without that extra win on board with it. Either way, this is one of our massive teams to watch.
Now, going into the ban phase, Jax taken away from Jax Plank. I think that is pretty self-explanatory.
Why is that?
Forward.
I can't.
Well, it is because in his name, it says the first 3 letters is actually saying Jax.
I missed that.
And Plank is not because he's a carpenter, it's because Gangplank is his other champion that he plays.
I need this help sometimes.
Yeah, I understand that. It's totally fair. Moving into the second ban phase, Senna, Seraphine. Seraphine makes sense to me. Senna as well, obviously 2 of these champions that we've already talked about. But already going from what we see here, there's going to be so many power picks. But this is completely overloaded. Wukong, Seri, Lucian if you still favor that, Switch. Like there is anything from the litter you want here in terms of playstyle.
And I actually can't tell what's going to get first pick because the camera's in the way right now.
And it's also
look at what the first pick is going to be.
He has been split pushing non-stop for this team of Riddle. They can do the fights 4v5. We've seen this before. So I would actually say that top line will be the counter pick for the last one. So
I think that makes a lot of sense. I think Jax Blank has been an incredible individual performer on individual matchups. This is the one guy which you really see being picked for in that matchup. So someone like Sips, who's had a bit of a rough entry to the league so far, has had some tough games, will need to be on their A game, and hopefully with some priority in draft, if that can help.
Would you say that Jax Blank is the Sif of split pushing and Banderas is the apprentice?
Always to the rub, which is the master and which is the apprentice?
I'm giving you that line. I know you like this, but yeah. Oberg.
I'm seeing a Jinx being locked in here, and I don't understand it just yet. Comfort, of course, Kevo and Jinx has been two champions that back in the day usually went in together, but you still have the likes of Seri, you still have the likes of Twitch. Volibear makes sense to me, but I think for sure, like, you just pick up the Wukong now from the side of Singularity, you pick Twitch, you pick Seri, whatever you prefer there.
I actually wonder, maybe pick Renata. If you have enough AD carries, because Jinx's prime lane pairing this split has been Renata a lot. I wonder if you pick that away and say, let's soak some AD carry bans and get the prime support matchup out of the way.
It's not bad. It's not a bad idea either. There's, I mean, barely any bad matchups coming through from.
They've learned.
Even the new lot, even the new ones know.
We are growing the Pantheon Club.
Very limited amount of counters to Renata, and well, in terms of what she does. One of the ones that's kind of unutilized in terms of going into later into the game is that Braum's shield actually stops the ultimate, but it's a horrible laning phase. So those are some of the back and forths you can go for, but so there you have it. Renata has been locked in. Yeah. Now I'm thinking specifically, either you just go for one of the pairings that you want us to support right now, or you can start saying, you know what, let's pick Sylas into the Corki. Let's contest that 2v2. Sylas, one of the few champions that can match, because your ultimate, it steals away the rockets. And when you steal rockets from Sylas, you actually get all of them. You're not only getting one, you get all of them, and
full ammo belt.
Exactly, and you build AP before the Corki does, so your poke actually is more effective earlier into the game than Corki's usually is.
There's a weird thing with Corki where actually he scales really well off AD, but like either way, because of the way that it works, the AP ratios still stay there. So in terms of like super late game, Sylas can get a little bit weird in terms of those damage ratios, but we've actually a really good game to watch where this comes into effect would have been, I believe it was SK's last game in the NLC. Had a very similar thing. We think, actually, you know, you don't have range, you're outranged. Oh, heck, that's a stolen rocket barrage. That changes the equation quite big. But now you have to look at what are these supports going to get taken away? Because I was looking at, I look at maybe the Rakan, maybe Lulu is the remaining kind of pick into laning pairs which work well with that Jinx. And you are going to start running out of options. Whereas the AD carries, I feel like you still got Ezreal, you still have Zeri if you want it. You've got various things you could bring here.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, looking at it, if I was to be picking here, I think you ban Sarah here, and then honestly, you just look for a support that got reliable peel and engage, right? I think even Nautilus Leona is fine picking in here as well. I don't think you necessarily need to look for an Echanda due to the fact that, you know, you are playing with a Sylas, with a Volibear. These champions need someone that also enables them, because they can't only be the only front line that you have. Interesting to see the Draven being banned out, because that, I mean, it opens up for Seri, it opens up for Kalista as well, which can kind of contest the 2v2. You're most likely blind picking your support as well, unless you decide to just say, all right, slam the top lane, let's get counter pick for bottom lane.
And typically, Riddle have put a lot of value into individual matchups for Jaxplank, and understandably so, he has been one of our very best top laners in the league this split. However, you have to start forming. You need to hold something, but you can't hold all your cards close at this point. This would be... Now, they did show this with the Ashe Seraphine. And this was Nash playing that Ashe support. It's a hover for now.
No, it's not. It's a pick.
It is locked.
Yeah.
So now, suddenly Renata is outranged. Suddenly, Renata needs to be worried about getting engaged on at some point in this lane. I mean, it's not the highest kill combo, but if you get to combo up with Volibear, who is the best jungler at coming bot lane early into that game, suddenly there are issues here from Singularity if they start losing control of that lane. They lose vision, you get arrowed, you get killed.
A good thing to pay attention to is also just the fact that...
It's locked in! Hey, Verdangan is locked in!
Oh my god.
Crazy. Coming out from Spiky, we said it. He had that ability power repertoire in some of his champions too. Going into the Jinx and Ashe here. What an interesting lane up here.
This is so weird. So I'm going to spend some time talking about Heimerdinger because my home away from home as a region is the LJL, Japanese League of Legends. This will be relevant in a second because the player with the most Heimerdinger games of all time is a guy called Seros, who was the old mid laner for Detonation Focus Me. He went international so many times. He played over a third of his games, and you think actually that's a lot of games for someone who's played almost 1,000 at this point, on either Ziggs, Karma, or Heimerdinger. It was banned away from him so much. And what you can do with this, and with the Renata, and with the Corki, is set up so much zones of control where you have to walk into turrets. You have to walk into bad kind of territory, and you're looking at the Sylas and the Volibear. You start getting tagged by individual skill shots, and your team fights after that point get very, very difficult. I can understand why Riddle at that point say, let's pick something that doesn't have to go into those areas and succeeds on their own side lane instead.
I'm going to be curious to that bot lane priority, how that actually functions, because in my mind, the Heimerdinger can place turrets, but you're playing into double range, so they should be able to try and deal with some of these turrets. Well, back and forth, he's obviously going to be under fire for a lot of ability. Also from the side of Riddle, they have Aurelia into the Gnar, and you have Volibear on your team. This is a big side lane win condition that Riddle have suddenly gathered for themselves here. So not only can they try and play the team fighting with the composition they have, I don't think it's going to be the best option thinking of what Singularity have, but they also have enabled themselves on side lanes now instead, which I think is the big difference maker between the two teams.
Final thoughts.
I think this game is going to be determined by mistakes and how they're punished. If you eat one handshake from the Renata in front of a Heimerdinger turret or several, that is going to be into the stun. It's going to be into the double reset of the big beams from Heimerdinger. Someone dies. So you can't afford to eat CC randomly on the side of Riddle. On the other side of it, it's not about necessarily in the big 4v4 where that happens, but on the side lane. Gnar makes one mistake, gets dove, side lanes fall apart. These mistakes, which we've talked about a lot about today, are going to define this game for me.
Indeed.
A wise choice.
On to the casters, and the Summoner's Rift is going to be trouble, and Viperwound with Heimerdinger on the bot lane. Take it away.
It's me.
I am so concerned because I've seen this one before. I've seen Singularity saying, let's throw the rulebook out the window, and then we got Master Yi.
I think last...
And we know how that game went.
Sorry, right from the Master Yi, man. I remember that one of the best Heimerdingers bot lane that we had in Europe, and why I'm using past tense is because that was Hjanen, and now he's coaching, so no longer actively playing as a pro player. He was probably the best, arguably, Heimerdinger in the bot lane that I've seen in Europe. He could combo so well, and there's like, okay, so when it comes to Heimerdinger, there's like so many ways that you can combo the beams and the lasers that you make it the most efficient and the most damage output. And out of all of these Heimerdingers, I remember there was like a huge discussion when Heimerdinger was viable in the bot lane that Hjanen was the only one that would actually do the combo correctly. So we're going to keep our eyes on Spiky, of course, to see how his Heimerdinger pans out.
I mean, we're going to be keeping our eyes in plenty of different positions. The Heimerdinger, we had a plan going into this. We were like, this jungle matchup, super exciting. We've got Stefan, who's been this breakout star this split as a player when he was a coach last split, versus Scrooty, who came in and looked really, really clean for his first couple of games. But then they picked Heimerdinger bot, so, you know.
Okay, I feel like there is some sort of story behind the Heimerdinger bot lane, right? Because it's an ever-pushing bot lane, and you're playing into Ash Jinx. Jinx, knowingly from the previous split as well, one of the easiest carries to push down the lane together with Tristana, because she has the rockets from very early on. And together with an Ashe double range, you get a lot of priority, you get a lot of poke down, you get a lot of push. But you can do the same when you have a Heimerdinger, having 3 turrets down the bot lane in the perma shoves. Now the thing is, you're playing against the Volibear. But that's the thing. After level 6, when you spawn this huge tower, the Volibear runs through and he gets absolutely shredded. What I do not agree with from the side of Singularity is that they have way too much ability power damage on their side. Their main hyper carry in the mid lane, Merza, is on a Corki, super AP focused, and Spiky on the Heimerdinger, also super AP focused. So my eyes for the AD consistent damage that we're looking for fall onto Scrooty and Sips, who Sips has gone counterpicked by an Aurelia, you know, other than the hands of Jaxman, who loves the 1v1. And
the test was talking about this as well, and they said, look, Stefan, ganking bot lane into Heimerdinger at 6 is going to be super unpleasant.
Never mind.
Don't really do it. Top lane ganking into a Gnar should be hilarious.
So I'm really interested in how the matchup goes now, because typically Gnar is hard counterpicked by Aurelia that can all in you, especially when you're in a mini Gnar form. Now, Shikari said in one of his interviews that with the durability patch, that mini Gnar used to have the HP base of Sona. And with the durability patch, it's much more forgiving to walk into an Aurelia in mini Gnar form and not be afraid of getting 100% to zeroed solo killed. So, as you can see, so far in the early levels, it really does work. Sips is allowed to walk up. Of course, they're level 2 from Jackson is going to force him a little bit further back in lane. But all in all, Riddle do shine with their solo lanes having the counter pick. We've seen a lot that the Sylas usually likes to trade the HP for pushing power, and if you do catch the Corki, you also out-trade pretty heavily. And again, we talked about Aurelia. Into Gnar, Aurelia is a huge counter pick because you can 100% zero you when you're in mini Gnar form.
Looks like mid lane there might be some action going on as Corki's just going to be forced back away. Merza did burn his flash just to avoid Stefan on the early engage. Sips is also not having a fun interactive gameplay experience in the early levels. Up
I can make it a little bit worse for you.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure that Merza's wave is pushing out Stefan. We mentioned typically he's on something like a Viego, more passive, but right here they want to dive Sips. He's going to go into mid now really soon.
Yeah, and he's going to be taken out before he manages to do so. It's simple as that. First blood goes to Aurelia.
The fact that Stefan did not have to burn his flash to get onto Merza and takes his flash, then goes straight into the top side of the map. I think these are things that you can very easily avoid because you know Volibear is going to go from mid to top lane. These are literally the only 2 lanes that you want to snowball if you're the Volibear. Get the Aurelia head into the now matchup, create it as a side lane problem for Singularity. Vladdy.
Round onto Scrooty.
Hey. Scrooty. That's not Kha'Zix. You're not playing Kha'Zix anymore. You don't get extra damage by isolation.
I mean, Nash was there for the assist, so it technically wasn't isolated. But while we're here in the bot lane, after that excursion into the jungle, let's have a quick talk about Kevo. Because we talk about Riddle having the ability to carry from every position, and this is endemic. The gold percentage on Kevo is the 11th in the league. We've seen 12 bot laners, which is why this is more than 10. But you look at the way that he plays from that gold percentage deficit, basically, and this dude's insane.
Yeah, absolutely. I think when I think of Kevo, I think of Ezreal, I think of Seraphine, I think of very passive bot lanes in general that don't necessarily need a lot of resources. And what he gives back to his team, look at his damage per minute, he's 5th. The fact that he gets 11th resources, but he's 5th in his damage output is insane. What this guy can do with the very little gold that is given to him and the very little assistance. Now, of course,
Scrooty might have been caught out by Stefan here. He's going to try and dive away, but the Bear's going to follow him through. Has the speed, has the rotation. Pearson's there to keep him healthy, but you can see Vladdy's moving down as well, so Riddle might be trying to make something happen as Stefan's moving forward. Not level 6 yet, so can't turn off the tower, but is looking towards Pearson this time around. Finds Renata Glass. There's a turret there, but it's only a little one. Fortunately, Singularity will be able to get away this time. 1, 2, 3 flashes gone from the side of Singularity. And again, I cannot stop reiterating how Stefan is usually one of these junglers that will rely on his solo laners having pressure, so he can default back into something like the Viego, where he's just farming into his jungle and he can be the playmaker later on in the fights. Right now, he's chosen to play the Volibear. He's going bot lane again. Looking towards Pearson once again, knowing the flash isn't available, and Nash will secure the kill.
He has... I want to say 100% kill participation, but Scrooty, unfortunately, for Stefan, overextended in the jungle and died to Vladdy. But so far, what Stefan has done in just 5 minutes is he's gone mid, he's taken Merza's flash. He sprinted top, he took Sip's life. And now, because that happened, Juxplant is in more than a good enough position to actually dive.
Just dive in. Should be able to secure the kill easily and should be able to just walk on out. Scrooty is in the neighborhood, though.
I don't think you want to take the 1 versus 1 into a level 6 fully stacked Q Aurelia. Wait.
Didn't get the blast gun over the wall anyway. But no, he didn't want to take it.
Sometimes it's difficult to hit the blast gun.
I mean, I
saw your face. He was like, is it though?
Vladdy is looking on the tower towards Merza, though. He's going to be chased away. Stefan is there, but again, still not level 6. Has maybe been a little bit too active fighting, and... Hello.
It's a Predator Volibear!
Cool.
Okay, okay, so there's a bunch of conversation going around about the press the attack versus the Predator Volibear. Of course, press the attack makes him a fantastic dueler.
Yes.
Nothing can beat him with this rune. 1, 2, 3 slap and someone dies in the thunder and in the stun. But Predator gives him so much prowess power. The fact that he can be bot, then mid, then top in so little time, it's so powerful. And right now, this is exactly what he's doing. Going top lane with Vladdy to possibly dive Sips again or even take the jungle. Now they have been spotted onto a ward. But again, I think it's fantastic how Stefan can swap styles from champion to champion, be this rock that they need him for the late game with the Viego, and be the early game ganking power in the early with the Volibear.
Oh, and it's found Scrooty. He's going to look to try and get towards his tower. Vladdy's there as well.
Oh, the rockets!
Gets a rocket, gets another, won't be able to find the third. Did I miss a kill there?
Did someone die?
No, I'm just losing my mind.
Okay.
I think I'm just.
Some water?
Yeah, maybe. Do you know what I actually need? I need to see a picture of a pet. There we go.
Ah.
Mrs. Brownie Cuddlepuff. loves to show off her belly floof, says a bit bar really. Actually, now
while Mrs. Brownie, Cuddlepuff, is showing her floof, Singularity is showing a little bit of early game aggression, this time coming from Mirza onto this Corki. He has been spotted. He's one level down to Vladdy.
And diving over the wall, finding Vladdy, but now he's got team in response. Nash is over the wall, could take the blast going, but decides against a Singularity, not going to push their luck.
And that is, okay, that is a little bit confusing because usually when you want to pull a dive like this, your jungler is there, but that was so miscoordinated and Jackal is going for the solo kill again. This time Sips is going to flash away. But again, when you want to pull these bot lane dives 2 versus X, you usually want to bring your jungler and your mid laner due to the durability patch, right? Due to the fact that champions are much more tankier and that the the tower is doing more damage. This time it was only Mercer showing up in the bot side of the map, and he also almost lost his life for it. So I feel like last time for Singularity, I gave a lot of credit to Scrooty because he had insanely good ganking timers. He was taking the summoner spells from opponents, and then he was turning up in waves that were in a pretty good spot for his team to gank on. This time, it's been a little bit unfortunate. He's overextended once into the jungle, he's been punished, and ever since, he's not been allowed to come back.
Teamfighting, of course, Wukong is always going to be useful, reliable, ultimate that's going to be very impactful, so it's not necessarily a case of, oh, well, Scrooty, you can go and, I don't know, rob belly floof off a cat, or whatever you're going to do, because you're not going to take part in this game.
Mrs. Cuddlepuff?
Mrs. Cuddlepuff, indeed. Mrs. Brownie Cuddlepuff, to give her a full title.
Honestly, everyone gives the pets such good names. Alex and Sam's cat had a really cool name. Ziggy B, I think they called the dog. And my dog is just called Robin.
That's a bird.
Doesn't even... No, it's actually from Batman and Robin, you know. Oh, the arrow flow!
Oh, Scrooty actually fast forward, looking towards Jaxpack. It's 2v1. He really needs to be a little bit careful. They will be knocked up by the second charge of it, though. Stefan is running with the Predator, as we talked about earlier. Gets the flash, gets the stun. Jaxpack goes down to the Gnar. But Volibear might be able to stand strong. Here's Vladdy as well. Looking towards Sips, as Scrooty's gone the wrong way. It's just going to be the 1-for-1 exchange as the kill goes to Stefan.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, it is a 1-for-1. It is jungler for top laner. And Vladdy is able to shove in that top lane as well, but in reality, his mid lane gets shoved in as well by Mercer. Corki is a really fast pushing champion, especially after 6, when you do have access to these rockets as well. And they're trying to pull off a bot lane dive as well. They know that Nash does not have Ashe ultimate right now, but it is coming up really, really shortly. So if they don't time this correctly, they could get to see underneath the tower, and with a big rocket from Jinx, this could spell death.
I think Riddle have called the bluff and are moving away. There's the ultimate and the chompers as well, which means that Kevo gets another shot before moving backwards. Singularity unable to dive, but they do get some time on the tower to grab some plates.
But then again, I've commended Riddle for the macro plenty of times. There's 3 members towards the top side of the map. Sid is going to be the recipient of some violence again.
He's going to be able to dive away a little bit, but gets into the Gnar, gets the stun, but the tower's going to be turned off at the end there, just so it can't see what happened.
Okay, and this is why it's really rough to play still Gnar into the Aurelia. 1 kill over to Aurelia, and she gets to snowball. This guy is playing with Bootyard Tail in his inventory versus Blade of the Ruined King onto Jaxplank's Aurelia. And I just want to reiterate here why it's always so important for Riddle's side lanes to get ahead. Jaxplank on his Jax in the game versus Astralis almost solo won them the game through a side lane. So you get this guy ahead. I think if I'm not wrong, he also has the highest percentage of damage in Riddle for his team. So you get this guy ahead, you've got for sure a plan to carry you in the late game.
Rift held in the pocket of Stefan. Curious to see where he decides to drop that one. A lot of good options this game. Maybe breaking down that mid lane. We talked already about how hard it is to break through a Corki. And when you've got the Silas there, not necessarily the safe pushing monster that we see from some other champions in the current meta, but also equally, breaking down this bot lane and taking away Heimdinger's safety blanket could also be crucial.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like Heimerdinger also works the same way like a Caitlyn or a Ziggs or a Tristana lane works. You are perma shoving, and because you feel safe with these towers, if anyone comes in level 6, you pop in your big tower, you stun somebody in it, and they get heavily punished because Ashe and Jinx...
That must be taking the handshake. No, but it's not going to be enough.
He's dead?
I don't know, Kevo.
He's dead.
Huh?
Kevo just 1v2 down in the tower. Vladdy!
They might be looking for a 1v1 outside of the tower, looking for the snipes, shoots one, diving forward, the big one misses, as Vladdy might look for one more shot, but Stefan is running forward, looking for something, has the Predator, but decides against diving any further.
Look at the
Without
jungle.
the ultimate, but in the jungle, the action don't stop, as Vladdy comes through using that final shot, diving on forward towards Scroody's clone, when the monkey is long gone.
Riddle are so quick to punish your mistakes and so good at macro. Kevo is taking down one in the bot lane. Meanwhile, Vladdy is having a trade in the mid lane. It doesn't matter if you kill or not Mirza. The fact that your mid lane is no longer there means that Scroody's jungle does no longer exist. And that was a super long range arrow, which means it travels faster and it stuns for much longer. And the timing was impeccable because the second Spiky tried to throw in some poke on Kevo's Jinx, the ash arrow landed onto him and he got stunned in place while having tower aggro. Really great stuff right there from Riddle. That was a little bit lucky, but it was really cool to watch.
Yeah, trying to get the bailout at the end by diving forward, but was unable to find it and was unable to survive. But for Riddle, I was looking at this game when we were coming in and saying like, oh, it's Singularity Riddle. This is a bit of a David versus Goliath, and Mirza, oh, Mirza. Well, anyway.
He was the David there.
Yeah, well, no, because David notoriously won that fight.
But there were many Goliaths.
Why? What? How many Goliaths do you bring into this party? Oh, I mean,
4.
Riddle brought 5.
They brought 4.
Which is, you know, unfortunate for them. But for Singularity, what's the game plan here? Because they've done the falling behind thing that we sometimes see teams do.
I'm just very worried because mainly their damage is ability power. So going towards Mercs for the side of Riddle, going towards a lot of magic resist is going to massively benefit them. So for Jaxmonk, he has a very easy way into Wit's End, a very easy way into Spirit Visage, especially since the Q from Aurelia also go buffed healing-wise, getting that extra healing for Spirit Visage or getting your attacks amplified by Wit's End while having extra magic resist on you can also benefit you on a side lane if you have to even lane versus the Corki. The problem for Singularity is that they're only 2 AD.
I think Vladdy's overextended a little bit here. Nash,
bit.
the ultimate was unable to find it, but he will be able to get away for a second longer. But
Wait.
might go down, will burn eventually. It's going to be Spiky picking up the kill.
All right, so the fact that Spiky gets a kill here is huge because it actually puts that Heimerdinger a little bit ahead of the Jinx. You see Leandris has been purchased, Boots have been purchased, Kraken with Boots on the other side for Kevo. Traditionally, Jinx needs 2 to 3 items to start shining and taking over fights. So right now, Spiky has a pretty huge power spike in his hands. If you can use the Heimerdinger and the big towers he produces from the ultimate to take control of rivers and start stacking objectives, that could also be your win condition right here. Stefan has found Scroody.
And Scroody doesn't win this 1v1 at this stage, but could look for a way out, as Stefan's going to be extending pretty heavily. Pearson's there as well. Maybe they catch up the bear. I don't think so. The Ashe ult will go wide once again. Singularity get away.
Ashe is one of the most annoying supports to play against because if you guys look at the portrait on the right, that ultimate is almost halfway reset.
Why is that then?
Because it's just all the haste, ability haste that you're getting from the items that he's banking right now.
Well,
that
Vladdy's
ultimate has no cooldown.
on the side, half health on the Corki, gets the Renard ultimate, looking to fire it forward, won't be able to land it, but splits Mirza from the rest of the team. Nash is now there with the slows as Vladdy dives forward. The ultimate from Jinx assists as Vladdy's forced to back away with Pearson ulting him, but that'll still be the pick.
And remember, this was supposed to be Singularity's Dragon. They have the first one. They definitely want to be stacking up the second one as well. You do have the Heimerdinger with his ultimate up and available. You've got massive pushing power in the mid lane again with the Heimerdinger. Oh, no.
There's not. Yeah, it's... Oh, no.
There's not.
I was thinking, like, what could he do? Kevin was kind of low, but then Spiky moved backwards, and I was like, you're... okay. Riddle are going to get their way towards this Dragon. Dragons have been a very slow uptake, and Singularity got the first one, so realistically, this isn't too scary to just give this one away. Second Dragon is kind of eh.
I'm going to say one thing.
Okay.
So, a lot of teams, when they do prioritize Volleybet, they also do prioritize heavily the Dragons. But I feel like if you do prioritize Volleybet, then you must have really strong solo lanes that you can snowball, or really early game proactive AD carry that you can snowball on the bot side of the map. This time for Stefan, it's the Aurelia and it's the Sylas that he wants to snowball towards top side of the map, which he has actually achieved. I feel like getting the Rift Herald and start opening the map, which means that there's going to be less and less vision.
I mean, what's the need, ultimately, 2 ultimates used there.
Ultimately, 2 ultimates used.
I mean, I need to see a picture of an animal. It's a cat and a dog.
There is volleyball in the game.
My bozzy. I think that's meant to say boys, but it does say my bozzy. Thank you.
Okay, maybe one's called Bo and the other one's called Z. So together they're Bozy.
Bozy.
That's very cute though.
Yeah, that's a good cat.
That cuddle is so freaking cute.
Thank you, Casero94. Your animals have brightened our day.
Picture in picture. Package has been picked up. Singularity have started that Rift Herald. Meza is on his way with the package. Also
coming in from behind as well.
Join faster.
They're coming into the back of the pit. Singularity are just trying to hold on. The Asher will land this time on to the Heimerdinger. Vladdy has stolen the ultimate and puts down a turret to try and control the river entrance. Scrudy dives away below half health. Vladdy needs to be a little bit careful. Merza even lower still as Jack's Blank will chase on, but he's speedy with the package and might be able to fly away. Riddle will be able to secure themselves the Rift Herald, I believe, off the back of that one. Are they going to push forward? Merza has to go back. Members of Riddle are still hunting, but it looks like they're just going to leave as well.
I wonder what happened to Merza, because he was coming all the way from base with the package, and in the end I think he ended up getting caught from the bottom of Riddle just as he entered river, because it was watered, as you can see on the top side of the screen right now. So I think Merza got caught right there, which means that he could only package away to save his life. The package didn't necessarily mean too much for the fight. Another Ash Arrow. It's been 20 seconds after all, so we're just about to see another one, another 20 seconds.
Speed on the regen. Level 9 as well. This ability's gonna... I don't like it.
2 more levels.
I'll give it up. But let's have another look at this team fight. Keep your eyes, as you said, on Merza. Like,
on Merza. So he's coming from the bot side of the map, and it's actually not watered at this particular time. So I think he gets caught between Nash and Stefan, so he'll put down some damage on Nash, but then Kevo arrives, and he's actually perma-slowed by Nash, eating all the rockets. I think this combo I didn't even think about it. It's so nasty. The fact that Ash will slow you and Jinx will put down the damage on you is absolutely bonkers. And Merza could only package away, which means that his package didn't necessarily impact positively the fight that Singularity wanted to take, so they had to run out. Also, we mentioned a lot the fact that if you're playing Corki, what are your counters, right? The traditional one back then was LeBlanc, because you could force the Hex Drinker out of you. Well, apparently Vladdy Silas can also force the Hex Drinker out of you.
It's truly a scary time for Singularity fans, and more importantly, the Singularity players, because the Ashe Ultimate, it's a go button. And the fact of the matter is, and if we're going to be hypercritical, Nash hasn't been super accurate. But accuracy...
But you don't have to.
When you can fire it every 15 seconds.
If you can fire it every 20 to 25 seconds, you do not care if it hits someone, because usually you want to hit it from super high distance, because it travels faster the longer it travels, and it also stuns you for longer. This is why you don't really care if it hits anyone or not, because you're trying to make picks. And again, remember who is going to be the big guns on the side of Riddle. It's going to be the Aureli on the side lane and Vlad on the Silas on the side lane. Right now, Vladdy, though, does not have his teleport to join, so he has to walk all the way from bot if Singularity want to continue finishing this Baron.
And they're going to back away, because that was one of those long-range Ashe ultimates that stunned Rudy for...
That was a Dignitas Baron right there. That didn't...
I'm very disappointed that you said the big guns on Riddle, Jax Black and Vladdy, when Jinx is right there. She has multiple...
I am a big fan of Arcane, though. I love Jinx.
Yeah.
Powder.
Netflix original series. No? Season 2 coming... Oh, no. At some point.
Soon-ish?
It's confirmed. I don't know the date yet.
I don't know, man. Stranger Things were confirmed
It's done
as well,
right.
and it never ended up releasing. It was like 3 years later, so...
I'm just... Merza, buddy. It has not been the game for the Corki, unfortunately, this time around. And Stefan, we were building up this jungle...
It's not been the day of the Corki, because Tempt picked it as well.
Hasn't. But Tempt wasn't having an unpleasant gameplay experience outside of his team.
True.
I would say that Merza is having an unpleasant gameplay experience. That being said, I think Sips is having a worse one, as this Dragon will be started up by Riddle, should be confirmed. It's not setting up for anything, though, as Riddle are just kind of... When you're dominant on the map, you can move around and pretty much take whatever you want from this river area. The Baron obviously is a much harder customer, but we do have objective bounties in play. So Singularity with someone like Heimerdinger could make something work.
Rift Herald actually was popped towards the bottom of the map, towards Jax Blank. He's going to use that to perma-shove the bot side of the map. And as you can see, it is only Sips moving towards the bot side. Now Mirza coming in, but I'm pretty positive here, Viperoon. A level 14 Aurelia can 2v1 a level 11 Corki and a level 13 Nah.
Well, Jackplank is going into Sips just to keep the Rift Tower alive a little bit longer. Mirza's actually turned tail and moved away. Scroody's here now, though. And Jackplank might win the 2v1, but can he win the 3v1? Rift Tower's not going to be doing too much work as it will be taken down. Spike's here too. Singularity, dogpile onto Jackplank, but space creation as the Aurelia dances around, dies in the end. But Baron started up, teleport coming through.
5 members committed towards the bot, so they have to pull teleports with literally whatever HP Baron have left.
What can you do here? It's secured by them as Vladdy dives into the enemy team, looking to get the ultimate down, goes golden, but Sips is not turning that damage too far round as the Silas in trouble, should be deleted. Shutdown goes the way of Corki. It's Baron on free for Riddle.
Yeah, I think this was absolutely worth it. The fact that we mentioned Jackplank can 1v2, can Jackplank 1v4? The answer is obviously no at this point, but he kept them busy for long enough. He took both of their teleports to bring them into this fight, which now means that when you're using that Baron to split push, never mind you don't, because Vladdy and Jackplank do not have it on them. But again, you can use that pressure in the mid lane.
He's speedy. Jackplank teleported in behind as well. Spike goes golden, the ultimate rips through, but Renata Glask is not achieving very much at all. As Spike, there's no way he gets bailed out here. Scroody tries to sneak away, flashing as he does so, but Kevo's excited and running rampant, looking towards Mirza. The zap, the shot, he's fast again, looking at the Wukong, as Scroody will also be slowed down. Stefan's there, double for Kevo as he steps up towards Sips, who's tanky. He hops, he skips, he's not stunned by the Ash Arrow, but it doesn't matter. Triple for Kevo, and now Riddle can push in.
Triple for Kevo and triple lane shoving waves for Riddle as well. Mid lane shoving in, 1.5 waves. Bot lane shoving in, 1.5 waves from Vladdy. They have a wave on the tops of the map they want to push as well, even if they don't finish the game right here and right now, because everyone's death damage are pretty low. They're going to take at least 2 inhibitors with them, and that last standing outer tower from Jackplank on the top side of the map.
Ace is well and truly sundered and broken. A Singularity will be able to regroup. Riddle not pushing their luck, but as you mentioned, 2 inhibs down. All the structures outside the base have been felled. And now Riddle can just step back, look to reset, because they've still got Baron for another minute. But let's look at this again.
So the arrow is going to miss right here from Nash, but you've got Jackplank onto that Aurelia flanking, and he does hit 2 people, if I'm not wrong. Oh, there's no ultimate. He hits 2 people with the stun right there, and he bails himself out while Spiky, the most damage that they have on the side of Singularity, ends up going down. And again, Riddle are going to chase down Mercer as well, but look at the waves. The second Vladdy comes up, he TPs onto that bot lane wave, making sure to shove it even further towards the tower. Mid lane wave is being shoved in, top lane wave is being shoved in meanwhile, and I think this dive as well, the way Riddle are playing, they might be the most decisive team when it comes to pulling the trigger for any fight.
My favorite thing about that is Nash missed 2 ultimates during that team fight.
Doesn't matter.
Just doesn't matter. Just doesn't care at this point. And let's bring this back round.
You know what? It's a mental war. It's you trying your hardest to not get hit by the arrow that you get hit by everything else.
That's smart. People actually say this. High elo players who go down to low elo say, I miss my skill shots because people don't dodge.
Yeah.
So that's basically...
That's why I miss my skill... Oh, wait, my champion doesn't have any skill shots. Whoops.
Your champion doesn't have any skill shots.
Whoops.
As Riddle are pushing down towards this top side. And this could be one last team fight and done. As they look to pressure into Singularity's base and hand them yet another L. Jackplank on the side is going to be clearing out vision, making sure that Singularity have nowhere to look, nowhere to run. But right now, they're holding on for dear life. And Riddle, to be giving them all the credit in the world, are playing this one methodically, slowly. They're not going to try and give an opening to Singularity, who, when you've got someone like Gameday, can look to turtle.
Yeah, absolutely. And look at the bottom map. Somebody's going to have to reply to these double super minions just running in. Jackplank has shoved in yet another wave, which means there will be 2 huge waves pushing into Singularity's base. And do you want to fight topside for your last tower, or do you want to lose your Nexus towers to minions?
Well, Jackplank was really cleverly just slowing the movement down towards that bot side. Didn't dive into fight against Sips, who went to clear it out, but just it took them so long to get there. Half of that tower has gone, and yeah, it's going to regen, because Nexus towers, they do that, you rebuild them. But Riddle, if they do that again, that tower dies.
Yeah, and again, I think Riddle right here, as you mentioned very rightly, they do not want to overextend. They do not want to be throwing away these huge bounties that they do have onto Stefan and onto Kevo. But look at that, Jaxplank, level 16, 3 points onto his ultimate. Level 16 for Vladdy very soon as well. These guys are sitting 6 levels above Person, who is level 11.
I am...
5 levels. I can do math.
We don't need to talk about that.
I can do math.
That's fine. This is League of Legends.
Oh, no.
Okay, Sips, I've seen some horror movies. Don't go in there. Just don't. It's fine because the minions are actually going to push him back a little bit. It's just Jaws, but instead of a shark, it's just an angry lady with a lot of sharp objects, which I would be more terrified of, to be honest. I mean, a massive shark is actually very terrifying.
Wait, are you more terrified of Jaxplank's Aurelia or a shark?
Depends how big the shark is.
Probably Jaxplank's Aurelia.
Yeah, he is. He is very sneaky, and he hits onto the Gnar, who's going to get stunned up, followed through. Will actually dive away from Vladdy, going to be caught out by Renata's ultimate. But honestly, it's not going to achieve very much this time around.
Okay, before the previous siege, Riddle pinged assistance on Baron. I'm not sure if that means, guys, we need to shove in our waves and wait 30 seconds until we can have our Baron on all members. Because I'm assuming Singularity, when they're 12k down, you do not walk into this Baron pit to try and contest, because Riddle are going to turn this around and kill you. But no, Riddle just want to kill you right here, right now.
For Riddle, they're going
half of them are going for Baron.
Yeah, they've split up their attention. Vladdy and Jaxplank just creating space, trying to force them to go to them rather than to the objective. But now could be in trouble. Rudy's moved in for the flank, but will he be able to do it against these two members of Riddle? They are very, very strong. Jaxplank around half health, though, and it looks like Strudy is taking Vladdy in the 1v1 at the moment. Silas, of course, very strong. The Jinx ultimate will come through to help, but Silas is in trouble. Jaxplank cutting off the retreat, cutting off the exit for Vladdy as he looks to dive away, moves forward, intercepts and gets the stun. The Gnar into the wall, and it's the kill for Bike.
Look at the base, though. Jaxplank does have his teleport up and available. If these timers... Wait, if these backs don't end up going in for Singularity, they did actually, because he was looking to cancel all the backs, but he only got one person. I think that was Mercer, who actually had to walk back the walk of shame while being cancelled. But nevertheless, that is Baron on 4 members this time, and very crucially, you do have Baron on Jaxplank. This is the one member that you do want your Baron on, so he can actually pull all the attention towards him, and then you can have Kevo absolutely shredding the top side, which is the only inhibitor tower that is left for the side of Singularity. Singularity, of course, with so much wave clear, with Corki, with Heimerdinger, they'll go wave clear for days.
I mean, importantly, the inhibitors have now respawned. So the minions aren't going to be intrinsically creating pressure unless Riddle go down there and set them up properly, which is what Jaxplank has been doing. So that's always good to see from Riddle's side. They are going to send the Aurelia back, but has teleport, as you mentioned. Vladdy is in the mid lane, so not going to be available. Aurelia's actually teleporting down bot. They want to split the focus as Strudy is free-firing. It's Mercer dead as they look to take down this last tower outside of the Nexus. Singularity, they're still defending strong, but I don't know how long they've got.
It was really difficult to defend when you have 5 members, because you need to split them into 3 lanes. As you can see, Vlad is pushing mid, Jaxman's pushing bot, your top lane's getting seized as well. You need a go button right here. Sips is mean enough.
They're trying to press the go button, but Sips is only little. He's going to get zapped, will get bailed out, but I don't think he's killing anyone. He falls. As you can see, Vladdy going forward. Stefani's low, but turns off the tower. Pearson will go down shortly. You've got to imagine as Kevo free fires, and there's the Aurelia for the conclusion of this game. Riddle go to 9-2. Singularity still on the hunt for their first win.
Riddle are going to tie themselves for the time being in first place with JDXL. And we've argued many times about this. We're like, is Riddle the second best team that we have in the league? I'm going to argue even further with you. Is Riddle possibly the best team that we have in the league? Because their macro, the decision-making, the early game plan, the way that they follow the trigger for any fight and any dive is just impeccable. But most of all, this macro level that they're showing on the map, this respect when they're on weak side, I don't think I've seen from any other team in the NLC.
It's a big statement. I have an answer, but I'm not going to give it to you because we're going to hand it over to our desk, who are going to give their take on what we just saw.
Thank you so much. And that was an interesting lesson coming in from Riddle, the way you approach the macro, the champion select, and you use it effectively against your team. What is your takes on the beginning of the game? We need to go step by step. Obviously, it was a bonk coming in from Riddle, but let's take it step by step.
Yeah, but most of it did start with the bonk, and it happened in top lane. It happened across the bot side jungle as well, where things kind of started falling apart. And that's a really awkward moment when you picked a pressure bot lane to try and help your jungle matchup. If that starts falling apart, what else have you got?
And yeah, and I mean, even just from that point of view, I think that everyone's just shining once again from Riddle, right? It's easy to pivot on toward like some stars. You still get the likes of Stefan popping up, down towards the AD carry department as well. From Kevo, we know he's capable of this, but it's so easily facilitated by their teammates all the time, and it just feels like they understand what their role is in the roster too. And I think that's a big part of it, because they know that some players will have to be star players in some of their draft composition, and some players will have to take a step back. In this scenario, everyone could be a star player.
But for me, Jaxplank's the one which I really want to focus on too. They saved Red 5 pick for him to get that last counter pick. And look how many people they have to send down. That is the entire team pretty much. One person walking up towards mid lane, trying to deal with Jaxplank. Looking at this. And yeah, Jaxplank dies in this clip. Gets the ults out, gets 4 people down towards that bot side. Baron's no longer able to be contested at that point. This is after he's solo killed in that top lane. He's got huge advantage. He's pushing down side lanes. This Aurelia was untenable. There was no way that Singularity could realistically deal with that champion.
And it was one of the big things really honed in on the drafting as well, is the fact that, okay, you got something to stabilize from Singularity. The problem is that there's a Volibear and there's an Aurelia into Gnar. This is a real big alarm that you need to somehow solve. And I genuinely feel like you honestly almost can't. It's one of these lanes where the Gnar will just be in for a bad time. It was a blind pick coming through, and you know, Jaxplank's Aurelia being up there is just a testimony to how good he is.
And that's a really good point in terms of like, you know, most top laners and most teams across the world are happy to blind pick Gnar right now. Honestly, since the durability patch, Gnar has been more safe into even matchups like that Aurelia. It used to be kind of unplayable. Now it kind of is. You can kind of just survive through it. For Jaxplank to take this many resources in the draft over many games means he has to carry with it. And the fact that he's now doing that is a huge thing for Riddle. He takes those resources, but he always does something with them.
And a lot of that comes down to the meta, because it is a little bit everywhere as well. You even see it in this game with Singularity, bringing out the Heimerdinger, but talking to players earlier today, saying how, you know what, this meta just kind of feels like a bot-centric meta too. I don't think necessarily it has to when Gnar is getting blind picked, not just in our league, not just in LFL, not just in LEC, but all across the entire world. On blue side, 4 and 5 now, I can't even count how many times I've seen it. And I'm glad that obviously it's easier to pull off on an ERL level, but I'm glad to see teams just be like, well, we have Volibear on red side. Why shouldn't we just be the team that continuously dives you and make your life miserable?
A life that is not secured on this one. Riddle secured another victory for them as we approach Tom Kick to discuss about another one for you. Okay, that's a big smile coming in from you. You get another one, you're tied up with JDXL. Do you expect him to lose today so you can finally get that sweet flavor of the first place?
What did you say? Sorry, I didn't hear.
Are you expecting JDXL to lose today so you can tie up on first place?
You know, I don't really think so. I think the true banger is going to come on Wednesday. So for now, we'll just enjoy the rest of the games. And I think we got enough of one banger on the first game today. So I don't think we need more upsets.
So for those of you that didn't catch up with the last time us two were on interview, us two actually have a bit of a history together where I'd get this guy to draft Ezreal Braum in each of our amateur games. We were just talking about the top side focus from your team. I'm not drawing comparison, I'm just leaving the two things on the table. But what's it been like approaching this increasing meta and having a player like Jaxplank on the team that so obviously can be a win condition through the top side? How has that affected the way you approach this team?
You know, the way we're approaching this is basically just today having mostly fun. Like, we have a lot of good carries on the team, like especially in the solo lanes now, and because of the meta and a lot of the strong champions in top lane just suits Jaxplank really well. It's just been really well and good for us to have the red side. So we haven't been able to do so much new stuff. It's mainly just other teams blinding Gnar 3 times in a row against Jaxplank and thinking that's gonna work.
So I would say Tom Kick is the new Todok when you're like, yeah, pick the Gnar, see what happens.
I created this man, by the way. I'm taking full credit.
Whoa. He never stops with this one, Tom, by the way.
I've never seen you this cocky before.
I'd like to understand more about the team as well, because it seems like the identity is we have 4 guys versus 5. Jax Plank is on the other side of the island just wreaking havoc. You guys have to deal with him or he finishes up the game. If you want to fight versus us, we're going to poke you till death, and Jax Plank will end the game nonetheless. But this is something that you're using because teams are not answering to you. Do you still have more plans in the sleeve, or is this the way Riddle is playing?
Yeah, I can't, of course, say too much, but this was pretty standard, I would say. Like, we had some more interesting ideas, but it just ended up being this way, and I think it's fine. We'll save the spicy things for XL, of course. So mostly things we've done today is what we've been doing before, so we don't need to be too crazy. Just don't wanting 2 bangers today, hoping that we get a free win against SNG. You don't want to be the first team to lose to them, you know?
Okay. Last question, because I don't have that much time right now. I want to know, Wednesday, you were talking about that. It's almost like a spoiler. JDXL versus Riddle, the rematch. If you win that one, you can steal away the first spot. What can we expect Wednesday?
Probably a bloodbath. Like, we're ready to fight. We have some good ideas. We have some hopefully crazy ideas. We'll see what kind of scenarios pop off. But it's going to be a banger, and hopefully we'll be on top and take the first place for ourselves.
Ooh, thank you so much for that one, Tom Kick. Always a pleasure, and I'll see you soon, man. Have a nice one.
See you, man.
Okay, I really want a bloodbath now.
Be great.
Not now, Wednesday.
Yeah,
It's like, yeah, we'll just wheel that one.
Later. There's still more games. Okay?
There's still more games. But I love the idea that we are not forced to show anything else because nobody is able to answer this one. When they do it, we have other plans.
Why fix it if it ain't broke? You know, it makes sense, right? I mean, they're playing through very strong individual players that are playing towards obviously very comfortable scenarios. You don't have to mess with that formula too much. They're just showing run-of-the-mill stuff for them.
I mean, you seem like a really knowledgeable guy. Like, you win pop quiz and all that.
That's me.
If only you won these games we have on the pre-show, though.
I won one of them. Did I beat you?
No.
Check the tapes. VAR, check it.
Check the tapes. For Singularity, it seems like they changed the entire roster. I think we're almost looking into relegation right now for Singularity. It's looking rough for them right now. Looking into you, into your eyes, what can they do right now to get away from that bubble position?
I mean, they can. It's difficult, right? Because like I don't mean.
That's why I asked you.
Yeah, I know. I don't mean to meme them. It's obviously a new team now coming in. But even at the start of the split, we'll always say, "Oh, it's a new team. They need to gel together." Well, you're now in the middle of the split. You're coming in with new players in the middle of the split, and not only against other teams who's suddenly also just building up their team. No. You're working up against established teams now. Okay. Personally speaking, I don't think it's going to matter whether you change those players or not. And that's not a jab at the new players or anything like that. I just don't think the circumstances help them out in any way.
And I think those circumstances where we need to, again, draw the microscope. Actually, the last interview that we had with Spikey, he kind of revealed that a lot of his own development was done off his own back. This was meant to be a development roster.
Yeah.
Feels like they hadn't even hit the right goal on that either. So it's a very difficult time for the players here.
So let's talk with JoJo right now, who's waiting for us at the interview. Welcome back, JoJo. And there's a lot to talk about on this one, because obviously Riddle is in a position where they're really strong. They brought in the new team. They seem cohesive right now. They're playing as a team. But Singularity, what can we expect from this team now? Like, what is this Singularity right now?
Well, it's the same as always, trying to pick up some wins on the board at the end of the split and try and get the players to gel until the end of the split. And if we're in relegations, then we want to maintain ourselves in Div 1.
And that is a question that I have for you. Obviously, it's a tough subject, but I have to do these questions. It looks like Singularity is heading on to relegations. What is the mind or the state of mind for the team right now? Like new players jumping in, aware that they could go straight into relegation.
I think everyone just wants to play their best League of Legends. I think we're not too concerned about being in relegations. We just want to play our best, really. We just want to try our best and get some wins, honestly.
Okay, last question.
So that's obviously a really cool quote there in terms of like the mindset of just trying to play your best, trying to play your best League of Legends. I get the feeling that was also the same opinion from the last roster you had as well, from everything that we saw in those interviews. It did feel like, again, they were just trying to go out there and do their best. At what point, in your opinion, did that change need to happen? When was that decision made about that other roster, which, of course, was there for a split and a half?
So, I mean, in terms of the players leaving, it was their contracts were expiring, and they kind of decided not to extend their contract. So it wasn't on us. It was more on the players. They didn't want to extend the contract. So we had to look for new players, obviously. We didn't want to make the change, but it had to happen because otherwise we wouldn't have players. So we're just trying to kind of, pull this roster together and do our best out there.
Hey, and at this point, let's see what happens throughout the rest of the split. Thank you so much. I know it's tough to do these interviews, but I always appreciate it, JoJo. Thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you soon. At this point, you need to salvage a situation. You need to
it's so tough.
Keep looking forwards. Okay, it almost seemed like you wanted to say something, but you know what I want to say? On to the